Hey guys, welcome to Girl Meets Screen. My name's Norma. As you can see by the title, we're talking about Bridgerton Season 1. I am late, super late to this party, but so happy to be here now. Glad it's not over yet. The time that it's based in just made me think it was going to be boring. It's not. I'm going to talk about the Featheringtons first. Like them the least. The daughters are kind of just there doing what their mom says to do, basically. The mom, I want to beat her up. But yeah, basically it's like their family losing money, getting money, losing it again. The mom trying to like get the girls married. She wants them to be, you know, high in high society, right? Like she don't want them in no scandals. She don't want them poor. Like she wants to be doing the thing. So that's basically what the season is. It's just them going back and forth, her being conniving and scheming and all of the things, right? So along with the Featheringtons, we have Miss Thompson. Turns out she is pregnant. I'm pretty sure that's why the dad sent her away. So she's here. Miss Featherington finds out. She is not happy about it, but she can't get rid of her now because she's living with her, so it looks bad on them. And you know, being pregnant without being married is a scandal. A scandal. So she needs a plan. Basically with Miss Thompson, the Miss Featherington is trying to marry her off with this old, creepy old dude. She doesn't want that, obviously, so she starts trying to get Colin to fall for her. She gets him to fall for her. She's like, we gonna be chilling, like, then, you know, like, whatever. Once we're married, I'll tell him, or like, we'll be fine. I don't know. So Penelope is trying to destroy this plan, which she does because Penelope is whistle down. I knew that before watching. I kind of wish I hadn't. I feel like I would have watched differently if I hadn't. But she ruins it. There's a scandal about it. Miss Thompson ends up trying to do an at-home termination. Gets sick and all that. She thinks she's been successful at it, right? Oh, this whole time, sorry. So the man who impregnated her is a soldier. Like, he went off to war or whatever, and her dad sent her away. So her honor has been compromised, her virtue has been taken, and she's pregnant, you know, like just all the bad things in this time period. And so he's off to war, and she's writing him love letters. She writes one to let him know she's pregnant, and never hears back. So the Miss Featherington puts it in her head, like, you never heard back, he don't love you. Daphne, obviously, Daphne is Colin's sister. Colin is a Bridgerton, and he wants to meet with her after everything comes out. So Daphne is like, you're not meeting with her alone, I'll be there. Basically, she ends up like getting her side of it, and she's like understanding of her struggle. So she basically tells her she's gonna use some of her connects as the Duchess now. And I'm getting ahead of myself with that piece, but we'll talk about it. It's okay. I know, a little confusing. Yeah, so she's gonna use her connections to try to get in touch with George, who is the soldier, if I did not say his name. I'm so good at this. Yeah, so she's gonna use her connects to get in touch with the soldier. Then Sir Philip Crane shows up and basically informs her that his brother has passed in the war, and he is there to marry her because his brother took her virtue, and it is his duty to, you know, take over here. She denies it because she thinks that her termination was successful. So she's like, you just gotta go. But then she finds out it wasn't, and so she decides to marry him for her children. So moving on back to Anthony, the eldest brother, who becomes Viscount when the father passes. He does not wish to marry. He wishes to have that mistress he has and just be with her forever without being married. Just keep doing what he's doing with her. But then he starts to realize that that's just not the life he lives in his position. So he just ends it with her. But then he doesn't. And then she does. She's basically like, I can't keep going on this roller coaster with you. You want me to be some like royal, virtuous woman, and that's not me. I'm out here singing opera, being scandalous. And then when he like, scandalous, an opera singer? Ugh, the nerve, the gall. Just kidding. That's Anthony's story though. And by the end, he's resolute to get married, but not for love, for duty. So love needs to be out of the equation. That's what he's thinking. Last but not least, as I said, the main attraction, we have Daphne. So we meet Daphne. It is her season to be married, or to attempt to be married. She is declared the diamond, but then Anthony ruins it for her by being an overbearing older brother. He scares away all the men except for this one really creepy dude who is creepy. The mom puts pressure on him, like, you need to find her a husband. So then he somehow decides that this creepy dude would be perfect for her, right? Thanks, bro. Thanks, brother. Anyways, we have Daphne going outside alone. That creepy dude sees her, then he's trying to grope her and stuff, so she punches him out, and then the Duke shows up. They hatch up a plan that is convenient for both of them. She will get the Duke to show her attention. Men want women who are unavailable, more desirable, for some reason. That is true, often a time. And he wants people off his back, so what better way than for him to be courting someone or be like in a relationship or whatever. So they make this deal so that she gets her marriage and he gets to be left alone until he leaves. And this is where we see the connection, like that. They do that first dance and they're just looking in each other's eyes and just looking happy as can be. It's beautiful. Episode 2, we get the Duke of Hastings background story. Let me tell you. It's intense. It's so sad. Basically, the dad is super crappy. His mom lost a lot of her kids, like a lot of her pregnancies. Ends up successfully having the Duke, but she dies. The Duke has trouble speaking. He has an impediment. And, you know, back then that was like, cause you're an imbecile. So he just discards his kid. He's like, get him out of here. No, you're a disgrace. And then we have Lady Danbury. I think she was the mom's like best friend. Steps in, raises him, gets him speaking, gets him being his great self. They try to go to the dad when he's a kid, and the dad's like, yeah, no, you still suck, because he still kind of stuttered sometimes. So, you know, he grows up bitter with daddy issues. When the dad passes, the dad is like, oh, you're here to take, you know, over the Hastings name. And he makes a stupid vow to his dad to never marry and never have children. Guys, what kind of self-torture, self-inflicted, like, life? What, like, sir, your dad's dying, okay? He doesn't care, ultimately. He ain't gonna, like, that doesn't affect him. That's gonna affect you all your life. But anyways, needless to say, he makes that promise. We've got Daphne's mom and Lady Danbury planning and plotting. They can see it. They can see the connection. So then, of course, we get Nigel still being a creep, still insisting. Her brother finds out about the punch, and he's like, you're done, son. And then somehow, I forget what the argument was with Nigel and Duke Hastings, but Duke ends up whooping his booty tail. And Nigel ends up coming through, and he's like, I'll tell everyone that she was with him alone out of sight, because, you know, it's also very bad and very not virtuous to be unaccompanied, unchaperoned. That's what it's called. It is very bad to be unchaperoned, and so he threatens to spread that rumor. And so she's like, well, gotta marry him. But then the mom goes to the queen's house, and the queen, I guess, you know, the queen knows all. So the queen tells her, by not telling her, how to get out of this. Basically, your maids. Invite her over, the maids will talk, they'll get all the information. So guess what? Her maid finds out that creepy Nigel has a kid that he is not taking care of somewhere living with its mom. So yeah, she's out of that. She's out of the Nigel plot, but we can see that the Duke and her are starting to like each other. Episode 3, introduce the prince, who takes a liking to Daphne. So now Daphne's got a shot at a prince. We also get the wonderful moment of the Duke teaching Daphne about self-enjoyment, how to do it, and that she should try it. I know that was super random, but it is a pretty important scene. Very interesting. She does end up trying, because she never has. She's like super innocent and oblivious to anything sex related. Her mother has not told her anything at all. And at the end of this episode, the Duke ends it. Lady Danbury has a conversation with him of like, yo, just let her go if you're just playing with her. Like, we can see it. We know what's up. If you want to be in denial, fine. But leave her alone. Let her find her thing. So he leaves her so that she can continue her thing with the prince, because that was the whole plan, right? We move on to episode 4. The Duke is struggling with his decision of ending things with Daphne. Daphne is struggling because she's realizing her feelings for the Duke, and she has the prince, who is great on all fronts, on everything. He's everything she would have wanted in the beginning. She would have said yes 1000%, but now she likes the Duke, so now she's like, oh my gosh, what do I do, right? So the prince is about to propose. The Duke shows up because he's reminded, or he's starting to see that he does like her. She had like ran outside from the prince right when he was about to propose. She didn't know, like he hadn't said anything yet, but she was just like, oh, I need air. Goes outside, the Duke finds her, they're arguing with each other, then they end up like heavy making out, man. And then her brother sees it and stops it, and her brother's like, you stole her virtue, you must marry her now. Because if you didn't know, if you're caught unaccompanied doing anything, you have to marry each other. Otherwise the woman is tainted and it'll be a scandal. Even your arm around her waist means you have to marry her. Yep. In case you didn't know, watch out there, guys. Okay? Keep those hands at your sides. But obviously they're both like, we're not getting married. Like, oh my God, we both hate each other, kind of love each other, but no. And so the brother's like, well, then there was no other choice to duel, which apparently is illegal in these times. And obviously someone's going to die. And the person that does not die will need to run away because they're going to go to jail if they don't. So he wants to duel the Duke. The Duke agrees. He says, I get it. I agrees. And the Duke was gonna die. So basically the way it works is you either shoot each other or you shoot up in the air, and it's called like a draw or whatever, right? Like we're not doing this, never mind. He pointed up to shoot in the air. Anthony was pointing at him. Yes, he was. Daphne shows up with Colin's help. She ends up riding right into the middle of it. So they shoot. She doesn't get shot, but she almost did. Because, Anthony shot. And that's where she decides they're getting married. He tells her he can't have kids. She decides they're going to marry anyways. Moving on to episode 5. We have Daphne and the Duke trying to get married in a hurry because Carissa, or whatever her name is, one of the little debutante girls, or whatever the heck they're called, she's mad because Daphne took her shot at the prince. And so she doesn't like Daphne. And she happens to see Daphne in the garden with both men. And she threatens to reveal it and cancel her virtue. And so Daphne's like, I'm gonna be married, like you can't reveal it. So they're trying to rush it. The queen blocks it because Daphne disgraced her nephew, who is the prince. And so they have to go appeal to the queen. So they go to appeal to the queen. Daphne has this whole fake love at first sight thing. But then the Duke drops this beautiful, beautiful confession of love. And the queen agrees to let them marry. And so they marry. And we have this very awkward, very funny scene of Daphne's mom trying to explain what will happen tonight sexually. And it's a good one. It's a good one with not a lot of information. She basically tells her daughter, it's just for making babies. Don't. So her daughter's like, so what if we can't make babies? We just won't do it? And so they go on their honeymoon. He gets them separate rooms because he's thinking she doesn't want to be with him. She's thinking he doesn't want to be with her. So they get to the argument where she's like, what the fuck? She's like, I didn't think I would make you that miserable. Like, I didn't think you didn't want to marry me that bad. Like, I know I forced you, but like, dang. And he's the same way. He's feeling like he forced her too. But then they realize they burn for each other. Anyways, so we all know what happens. Honeymoon night, you know. Yeah. So that's how the episode ends. Her saying it was wonderful when he asks her how it was. So basically, episode 6 is just them having sex everywhere and being like super in love and in honeymoon phase. But then Daphne's maid or servant, assistant, whatever the lady is to her, whatever they're called in those times, tells her, because she asks, like how sex actually works, you know, like how what comes out of him is what is supposed to go into her to make the baby, basically, right? And so she's like, oh my gosh, so he's been lying this whole time. Which, by the way, Daphne, that's not how that works, because that can still come out and it's still not functioning. But I mean, you were right, but I'm just saying, like, in some cases you may not be. Anyways, she realizes what he's doing. She's pissed about it. So what does she decide to do? Assault him. She forces him to do what it has to do to make a baby with her. And he's like, what'd you do? And she's like, you lied. So I did what you did. And it's like, that's not the same thing. But okay. Episode 7, basically Daphne goes back home to help deal with the scandal of, like I mentioned earlier, Colin and Miss Thompson being pregnant and all of that. So, you know, she's helping her family come up with plans. Like, we'll do this. We'll be seen here. We'll host this ball, all this stuff. while she waits to see if her period's gonna come, because back then, that's how you found out if you were pregnant or not. If your period went away. And so, yeah, she's waiting, but it comes. They're at the opera, and her period comes, and so she's just crying to her mom. And basically, you know, they're both thinking like, okay, well, I guess this is done because she's not pregnant, and we said if she wasn't pregnant, we'd be done. We have episode 8, which Daphne is designing this ball to, like, I guess take everyone's attention or like get in everyone's good graces. In this episode, Daphne finds the letters the Duke wrote to his dad, which were not opened, so she knows they were not read. Sees all of the pain, you know, everything he went through as a child, everything he said to his dad. Talks to Lady Danbury, and she basically realizes, like, for herself, it's not worth losing him, and so she's willing to, like, stay with him and figure out how to help him work through that, essentially. She doesn't say that, but, like, it's obvious that that's what we come to, because she starts being nicer to him, and, you know, like, she's just kind of like, okay, this is something that we can work through. So she's planning this ball and everything, and so they have the ball, and this is basically where they end up making up. He realizes he really loves her, and he wants to figure out how to be good for her, and, like, you know, like, basically it's like, let's stay and forget everything that happened before. And they do the do, and he decides he does the do the way that makes babies. And so the episode ends months later with Daphne giving birth to their first son. And he mentions, like, oh, they're like, what are you gonna name it? And he looks at her mom and he's like, it'll have to be something with an A, because there are traditions in this family, right? She's like, oh, right, you are. Because if you didn't know, which I didn't know until watching the scene and Googling it, so I must have missed this somewhere along the lines unless they didn't mention it. The kids are named after each letter of the alphabet, the Bridgerton kids. So I'm assuming the parents were planning on having heaps of them, because there's Anthony, Benedict, Colin, Daphne, Eloise, Francesca, Gregory, and Hyacinth. I remembered all the names. Anyways, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And I was like, I don't know if I missed something, or maybe in editing they forgot to, like, include where it's mentioned, because I don't think I missed it, but maybe I did. Who knows? But that puts us at the end of Bridgerton season 1. Cannot wait to talk to you guys about season 2. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like the video. Comment down below your favorite Bridgerton plotline for season 1. Subscribe for more content like this, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.